help me join me in welcoming our founder and president, Ms. Danielle White. You start these things and you put things in your mind and you say, what are you going to say? How are you going to say it? Who are you going to relate to? But there's no particular word that can encompass the word love. It's just such a spectrum of so many different emotions of what you feel, how you think, who you want to hug, who you just want to say thank you, I love you, and I appreciate you. So let me first say that to you, because without you guys, I wouldn't be here today. Let me reach out to my mother in the back, all day, every day, holding me down, my aunts that hold me down, my best friends that hold me down, and most importantly, the Lord Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord.
Okay. So as we started this particular event, I said to myself, what is transition? And how is transition and transformation one and the same? And it is. Because when you think about it, we start transitioning in our lives at many times, many peaks, many highs, many lows. We can't define what our transition is unless we understand that the transformation, it comes from a higher being. We have to begin the process. We got to do the work. If we don't do the work, we don't transcend, right? But then I said, you know, transition can mean so many things for so many different people. It can be if you're in school, starting school, high school, junior high school, mom going back to work, getting out of an ugly relationship, lost, illness. You know, those things are transitional, meaning that it's time for change. When we think of the word transit, we think of bus. The bus takes us from point A to point B. So we have to think of ourselves as that vehicle that's continuously moving. But the journey does not discriminate against anybody, because we all go through different things at different times and different peaks in our lives. So I said, let me sit down and think about the word transition and how it relates biblically. So I said, you know, Joshua chapter 1, verse 9 through 11, he says, have I not commanded you to be strong and courageous? Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed. For the Lord, your God, is with you wherever you go. Then Joshua commanded the officers and the people by saying, pass through the midst of this camp, and command the people by saying, prepare your provisions for yourself. Within 3 days, you're going to cross the Jordan, and you're going to go into the land that the Lord God has possessed for you. So I sat back and I said, wow. I said, that's serious, to really digest and understand that someone has already said you are going to go through the midst of some things, but if you have faith in who I am, you're going to continue to move forward and get to where you got to go. You can't question what it is that you have to go through. You just got to go through it. Amen. I said, so, you know, have I transitioned? You know, because you have to do an internal, you know, look back and say, have you transitioned? Can you sit up in front of someone and say, I have done this, and really mean I've done this? Because I know I can't stand the term, I really understand what you're going through. When you really don't understand what I'm going through. You feel me? Okay? So I said, well, to move forward, we must be in an understanding that we're protected. We're delivered. We're strong. We're courageous. We're not to be frightened, as Joshua said. We must refer to the basic instructions before leaving earth. And we all know that's the Bible. We need to follow that instruction every day. And as I look into the audience, I said, well, you know, I see old faces, I see new faces. I see faces of young ones that I'm so happy to see where you are now from then. But I'm not perfect because I had to transition. I had to understand that the person you see in front of you today was not the person 20 years ago.
Amen.
I had to say to myself, am I willing to tell my story about my transitional path and the transformation of the person I am today? And you know, God told me, be that vehicle and tell your story. So my story has not been the easiest story. I have not been a perfect child. I have by no means had the perfect grades. Okay, I have definitely messed with some boyfriends that I should have not messed with. I have definitely done some things in life where I said, oh Lord, what was I thinking when I did it?
Amen.
But I have transitioned to say now, I'm going to tell somebody else, don't do that, baby. That sign is there, that note is there, that tweak is going on for the spidey sense and said, this ain't right. Okay? And I stand here to say I'm not perfect because I'm still in a learning phase. Because every day for me, I'm learning something new. I'm speaking to someone that's dropping that seed of knowledge for me to take it and cultivate it into something else. I'm understanding that transition and transformation is one and the same because you have to do one to get to the other. Okay? So I'm reminded of my struggles and my challenges, my victories and my losses, things that have defined my life. passions that I should have looked into earlier and put down by the side because, you know, someone was telling me this wasn't the right thing for me, or just giving me that negative garbage. You know, we all got someone that gives us some negative garbage, okay? And for the time that we take to listen to the negative garbage should be just as quick as we throw out the negative garbage, okay? Because God doesn't give us something that we can't handle. He says, I'm going to put this on this plate, and you're going to marinate on this, but you're going to work towards a purpose driven. So get rid of the negative garbage. The cycle of the world has changed today. We have a lot of things that influence us, that give us negative garbage. We got social media. It's probably the biggest thing that hits us today. It affects every aspect of how we think, act, and move. But there wasn't social media when the Lord was coming up. His media was out there touching people's hands, hugging them, talking to them, providing to them. That's why in Joshua he says, you have to take your provisions and prepare for your transition. So we need to be able to do that. So for me, my transformation is I need to leave a seed for someone else so they can transition. Because I'm not promised to be here every day. But I am promised that the lessons that I leave will leave a mark on somebody. Yes. So I embrace the notion that it's never too late to change. Change your picture, your direction, your strength, your patterns. Start changing the things that make you stop to think, to question yourself, and ask yourself, is this in the path of the purpose that the Lord has given me? Or is this someone just giving me garbage? And when you can define that, you have transitioned, or you're in the process of transitioning. We don't need nobody's approval to be who we are. The only approval is from Almighty God. Because at the end of the day, He tells us what He has driven for us in life. Okay? And I say that because, you know, we look for promotions. Everybody wants this promotion on the job, or you want to find a perfect boyfriend, husband, you want to hit that, you know, Mega Million Lotto or something like that. But do we really need that? When you can get up every day and plant your feet on the floor and say, Lord, I have transitioned from a night of slumber and you have woke me up the next morning. So can you transfer me to go to work and do what I have to do to affect someone to make me positive? Yes. To make me feel like I have done something worthy of you today? Yes. Those are the best promotions in the world. It may not be monetary in the sense of I can put it in my pocket, but spiritually you are definitely aligned. Yes. Okay? So we watch people, friends walk away from us. We watch people not pay us any mind. We watch young people discount what we're saying or making us feel inept. But God gonna stop all that. When you understand you must transition from those people to get to your transformation. Whether it be in school, work, health, relationships, however you want to claim it in your life, you got to start your path. You got to do your work. And your work got to start with you. Yes. Now, you can reach out for others to help you, but you got to do your work. Amen. We go through life holding on to a lot of resentment, a lot of guilt. I mean, some of us honestly can say to us something right now, something that happened maybe last month, 3 years ago, it still got me in feeling some kind of way. I ain't gonna lie to you, I am that person. You make me pissed off, or you gonna know you made me pissed off. I'm human. But I couldn't say to you today, I'm transitioning, without understand I need to let some things go so that I can move on to my path. I'm blocking my own blessing. Because I'm so busy being caught up with something that has passed, that was supposed to be a lesson, not something that held me down like a boulder. So I say to you, let go of those things. Turn those things around. Surround yourself with beautiful people that have a passion for not for who you are, but what you are. Because we're children of God. Regardless of how anybody may phrase it, coin it, tag it, Facebook and Instagram it, I don't care. He is not the one to play with. Yes. Because your direction is decided by what He has for you. And I'm not saying we all need to be those that walk around and say, you know, I can't do anything when I'm thinking about myself. I'm saying to you that you must transition and hear what He is saying to you. If you're in an unhealthy relationship, remove yourself from that relationship. Transform your life to be treated the way how you wish to be treated. If you don't like the job that you're in, don't complain about the job. Transition and position yourself to get out of that job so that you are now complete and whole. If you find yourself in the need to find guidance from a spiritual leader, a community leader, you need to transition and position yourself so that transformation becomes effective. Because sitting down on your ass ain't gonna make you move no faster. Amen. Okay? I'm gonna tell you, y'all know Danielle. Danielle comes straight with it. But I'm telling you, as we are growing as women, the climate is changing. We have a woman who is now nominated to be possibly the president of the United States. They told us that many years ago. We wasn't gonna have an African American president, and we wasn't gonna have a woman president. We are transitioning. And we need to help in that transformation. We need to be able to say in our communities, if we don't like something in our community, let's come together and do something to make the change. Let's not complain about it. And let's not put that responsibility on somebody else. Because when we don't do it the way how we want it to be done, then we make it. So if we want it done a certain way, then let's be that nucleus and make it happen. Let's use the transit, the vehicle, from point A to point B. But the most important factor is we got to prepare ourselves with our provisions. We got to share our testimonies. We got to be able to say, yes, I have done it, and I have learned from this reason because. Yes, I shouldn't have done it. I have learned this reason because. And be able to say with a straight face, this lesson is because I want you to do better than what I have done, or have more than what I have received, and be able to say I'm aligned in the Spirit of God every day. Because at the end of the day, we get up every morning because somebody wakes us up, and it ain't that alarm clock. We must give honor to every woman, every race, every class, every ethnic background, history, recent contributions. Those because we are the nucleus of the families. With faith, love, and education and strength reinforces the conversations that we need to have to transition. As we look at our young daughters, our nieces, our grandchildren, we need not be ashamed or feel taboo of telling them the real deal. Because I'd rather hear them from you than I'm hearing from social media or a friend that doesn't have the right information for them. We need to be able to say we are reinforcing what has been given to us. As Joshua said, we need to prepare for our provisions. And out of the words of Aretha Franklin, when she says rock steady, now y'all just think about that song, rock steady. She says rock steady and sway your hips from side to side. Step as if you are alive. And as we are bouncing to that song, we plant 1 foot at a time on the ground, and we rocking them hips because they're our strength, they're our girth. Okay, real talk, right? Yeah. Some of us got more girth than others. But she says that to say like you need to be steady in who you are, and you need to be aligned in where you need to be, so that you can transition to move forward. And I hope when you leave here today, if you don't learn anything about the Dynamic Divas, we're forward thinking. We want to empower. We want to give back. But most importantly, we want you to leave with a sense of like, you know what? I'm good. Because I'm a transition, and I'm a transform, and I'm going to be back and be like, and how you like me now? Because I'm going to be like, and what you did, boy, and how you got there, and tell me. But that's what we need to do as a community, and that's what we need to do as women, because we are the beginning and the end of everything that changes the way the world thinks.
I'm honored to be in the company of the diversified, intelligent, vibrant, and accomplished women.
Say it again.
Diva says. And by sharing my story with you, I hope you are empowered, encouraged, and educated to embrace the opportunities that come before you. So now I've tied in all the Diva connection there.
You get your check now.
Thank you. The story I'm about to tell you began in August of 2005, following an advertisement I saw in the newspapers for a discovery flight from the Horizon Flight Center. A discovery flight is basically like an introductory flight where you go up in a small airplane with an instructor, and they let you fly for a bit and basically show you the possibility of a future in aviation if you have the stomach for it. Some individuals have motion sickness and they're afraid of heights, and so they don't really pursue it after that. My flight was scheduled for August of 2005 at 2 p.m. And that gave me basically 5 days to pluck up the courage to continue or chicken out. But I figured, well, what's the worst that could happen? So I showed up at Chesapeake Regional Airport. It's located off Dominion Boulevard in Chesapeake, and received a different type of discovery. A few things had fallen through the cracks. The airplane was in the shop for maintenance. The instructor was nowhere to be found. And customer service never called me to reschedule. So I found out all this when I got there. So clearly we're off to a really good start. And I guess the chief flight instructor for the school heard about it because later that day and several days later, there was a flurry of emails and phone calls, and they were trying to entice me to give them a second chance. So they threw a discount in there, so I'm like, sure. So 10 a.m., September 10th, in 2005, I was back at the flight center. This time things went a lot smoother. My instructor took me out to the ramp, introduced me to the airplane. It was a Cessna 172, which is a high-wing, 4-seat airplane. And typically with the small airplanes, everyone gets an aisle in the window seat at no extra charge. So the instructor demonstrated the pre-flight condition. It's not much different from what you would do when you go to drive your car. Check to make sure that the tires are inflated, that you have gas in the car, and that the oil is, good level. And so once the engine was running, we went down to the end of the runway and we checked the instrumentation, make sure everything was good. Pretty much like you do in a car. After the car's running for a little bit, you see that the gauge is closer to C than it is to H when it comes to the oil temperature. So everything's in the green, we're good to go. So we taxied to the end of the runway, did some more checks, because unlike a car, if you have a problem, you can't just pull over. You gotta go land someplace. Ideally at an airport, but an open field is an option, or a highway. You do what you can. So the instructor explained everything that he was doing, and soon we were hurtling down the runway. At about 6 to 5 miles an hour, we lift off from the runway, climbing into the sky. And once we get to about 1,000 feet, we do some more checks just to make sure everything's good, and then we kept on going. And once we were at about 2,000 feet, the instructor alternated showing me maneuvers and then me performing them. I was a little anxious, but then I was like, after a little bit, like, what do I have to worry about? This is an instructor. They know how to fly the airplane. I'm just here having a good time. And once we were at 2,000 feet and I got settled, I could see for miles. And I mean, the blue, the green, the water, it was just amazing. And I didn't really realize that Hampton still had so much green left in it. And I'm sure you've heard us saying that the sky's the limit. Well, for me, in that moment, the sky became my playground. So like any Disney or Busch Gardens ride, as soon as you're having fun, the ride's over. So we're landing back at Chesapeake, and a few weeks later, I was back at the airport again for a second discovery flight. And this time it was in the Diamond Katana. And that was a low-wing bubble canopy airplane. And the really cool thing about that is, I felt like I was a fighter pilot because it had a center control stick. And when I pushed the button to talk to the other pilots, I felt like I was pushing the fire button. So that was a more exciting flight. And at that point, I was really hooked. I knew that was definitely something I wanted to do more of. And for me, that aircraft was a game changer. That's why I said in my bio that for me, diamonds are a girl's best friend, not the ring, the airplane. So I was big on research and details, and I visited a bunch of other flight schools in the area. At the time, Norfolk International did not have a flight school, and actually to this day they don't. But Chesapeake Regional Airport, located off Dominion Boulevard in Chesapeake, and Hampton Roads Airport, which is off 5172 West Military Highway, they had a bunch of different flight schools there. So I went and looked around. And the chief deciding factor for me was ensuring that the flight school had at least 2 of the same airplane. Idea being if one is in the shop for maintenance, I could still be flying the other one. After my first experience with the Discovery, I learned. So I also read it was best to have at least 2 to 3 flight lessons a week. And so I tried to schedule them in the evenings after work, like from 6 to 8 p.m. And as luck would have it, every time I had a flight lesson scheduled, work always overran. Phone call came in, and next thing you know, I'm not getting out of there in time. So I went ahead and I changed my schedule, saying, you know what, weekends, 10 a.m. to noon, Saturday and Sunday. Why? Because I like to sleep in. And secondly, I felt more rested and able to get the most out of my flight sessions. So after approximately about 7 months of weekends, some weren't so great with the kind of weather we had in the area, I passed my flight evaluation on March 10th, 2007, and then exactly a week later, I took my mom as my first passenger on the flight.
Brave mom.
That's love. That's a lot of trust, too. So, and I had never heard of the 99's organization of women pilots until I got my license. And the woman who did my flight evaluation, she says, have you heard of 99s? I'm like, 99s what? She says, oh, we're a women pilot organization, been around since 1929. And we're for networking, education, fellowship, and scholarship, helping women advance and move forward in aviation. I was like, I hadn't heard of y'all. She said, well, come to a meeting, see how you like it. Well, as some of you may know, once you get in with an organization, to see you have some get up and go about you, next thing you know, you're drafted, you're in charge of something. So it wasn't long before I became the scholarship, the aerospace education chairperson. And then I was the chapter vice chair, and then chapter chair, and I was in there for a long time. It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of people, and a lot of additional doors opened to me that I didn't know existed in aviation. It's just one of those things where, to me, before I got into the whole flying experience, I didn't even know small airplanes existed. All I knew was the big airplanes, Southwest, Delta, United, Continental. So the following year, in 2008, I joined the Civil Air Patrol. That's an auxiliary of the United States Air Force. We engage in customs and courtesies following the Air Force protocols, and it's an organization that's open to youth age 12 and up. So I hope the teens, would consider that as an opportunity to get involved in activities that encourage them to push themselves and to achieve, based on their own levels, without necessarily having to compete against someone else. The organization is also open to individuals over 21. We call those seniors. So I'm a senior. So I'm deputy commander of the squadron, the Hampton Rose Composite. They meet weekly, and we'll write the websites on the flip chart here, if you don't mind, Diva, so that anyone who's interested can go to the websites to get more information and hopefully, sign up. In July of 2009, I was awarded a full scholarship from the 99s to pursue my instrument rating. That scholarship was worth $8,768. That's the exact number because I went and I got a quotation from the flight school, and they said, okay, if you want to get this rating, this is how much it will cost. And so I just went ahead and I filled out my application, I sent it, and there it was. And so I got the scholarship in July, and by October of that year, October 25th actually, in the evening around 7 o'clock was when I finished the flight evaluation. It was a long and grueling experience, but I felt really charged once I got the rating. Okay. So then I could legally have my head in the clouds without having to see outside the window. August of 2013, I had pressure to get my commercial rating done because when you take the written test, it expires 2 years from the date that you take it. So if you don't take the flight evaluation within 2 years of the written test, the test expires and you have to take the test again. Well, for me, the added pressure was that they had increased the price of the tests from $100 to $150. But it wasn't just the money, it was about the time you have to put back into studying and remember all this stuff. So I pushed through, and my mom will tell you stories of what it took for me to get that rating. But on August 23rd, I earned my commercial single engine rating, and that actually takes me one step closer to getting my flight instructor rating so I can take people up for flight instruction. And I had started to take lessons for multi-engine training because I thought it would be nice to have the option with the second engine. But I've since put it aside so I can pursue studying a doctorate in business administration. I started in January. And I am still involved in aviation activities and giving speeches and things like this. And as recently as last month, the 99s and myself participated in the Women Can Fly Day, where we gave free airplane and helicopter rides to females aged 8 and up. The idea is that women are a very small part of the pilot population, and in order to spur interest and get them aware of this opportunity, we give them a free flight. So it was June 18th last year, we flew 126 females. And then we had at least 3 or 4 repeat individuals who were there the previous year, but this time they brought a friend with them, which I thought was really cool. Nice. So I hope many of you at least will consider coming out to a similar event that we have next year. I will be sure to pass information on to Danielle so that she can put it on your calendar so that you're aware.
How many would you go?
And I say that everywhere I go, every time I get up to speak, because if it wasn't for the Lord that was on my side, I can tell you, I really don't know where I would be. Because you all see me, I'm standing here as a judge. When I grew up, we were poor. Not because we spoke Ebonics, but because we could not afford that O or that R. We were not poor, we were poor. And to God be the glory.
Amen.
So I say to you, thank you to the Dynamic Divas of Virginia for this invitation. Ms. White,
Yes, ma'am.
without you, this event would not be possible. To Ms. Simone. Ms. Simone, thank you for the radio interview. I don't know if you really, I don't know how you did it. Ms. White tried to explain it to me. I still don't know how you did it. Ms. White, our CEO, she talked about transition and transformation. Our pilot gave a synopsis of her life and how she became a pilot. And I'm gonna try to do a little bit of both. It's not gonna be all day. Hey, get that feedback back. Take that back. What's that? Mr. Simone, that's you?
No,
I know that's not you, Mr. Simone, because you know this stuff. Okay, so transition is defined as the process or period of changing from one state or condition to another. That's what the Dynamic Divas of Virginia is asking us to do. You, the young ladies, you, and our mothers, and really they're asking all of us to make this transition. But we must ask ourselves, how? How do I accomplish this transition to transformation? In these past few weeks, I must admit, I went to a lot of funerals. And folk would say, look, I'm gonna tell you, God, it's good. They were all older people, no young people this time. And folks were describing the process of dying as transitioning. Anybody ever heard that? The transition?
Yes.
So they use that word. So I said, in that case, that means that the Dynamic Divas of Virginia are really asking us to die. Right? This death is not a physical death, but a death nonetheless. We must die to what it is that's holding us back. Those things that are in our control, yet we still allow it to hold us back. For example, young ladies, mothers, all of us, we can put to death bad habits. We can put to death negative thoughts. We can definitely put to death bad attitudes. Can I get an amen? Amen. Now how? I like that young lady over there. She is fascinating. She's encouraging. As I'm trying to encourage you all, she's encouraging me. So I thank you. So how do we do this? The first step toward getting anywhere, the transition, is to decide. You gotta make a decision. You gotta decide that I don't like my current situation.
Right.
I don't want the generation after generation after generation things and stuff that's happening in my family to happen to me, and I don't want it to happen to mine. So to me and mine, we are going to transition. And I'd like to say in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Amen.
But how many of us could say that?
Amen.
So then you're ready for the transition. Yeah. So it starts off with the decision. I'm going to make a change. Once you have made the decision to make a change, the rest will follow. What is the rest? The planning and the action. Why? Because if you're not planning, and you're not going to put it into action, then you're planning to fail. There you go. Somebody knows. Somebody must be in that transition. Or perhaps already transformed. So that's a good thing. So decision, followed by the plan, followed by putting the plan into action. Then you know, and I don't know if any of you all know this, but I saw this at the last minute, so I put it in there, that the transition is in you. The transition is for you. And the transition will be by you. Not someone else. Your decision. Your transition. The transition is not easy. It's not going to come quick. Sometimes it's going to be painful. For some of us, it will take longer than others. But remember, It's your transition. It's not my transition. It's not Miss White's transition. It's not Miss Simone's transition. And it's not Miss Brady's transition. It is your transition. Make it your own and own it. My transition took years before I started out. You know, I started out poor. I told you that before. I started off, couldn't afford the O, couldn't start the R, but I knew that I was not going to be poor. I wasn't even going to be poor. I wasn't going to be poor, and I wasn't going to be poor. Neither of the two was I going to be. Okay? And so, back in the days, we used to say, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. Today, you all say, I started from the bottom, now I'm here. I don't care how you say it. Start on your transition. And so I say that to say that, yes, I decided I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be poor, and let alone poor. Then I said, let me get a plan. Early on, you know what the plan was? Education. I knew early on that education was the key. How I knew that? Because my father was a city slicker. That's what he came from, South Carolina, Charleston. Both his brothers preachers, both his sisters school teachers, educators, went to school. Now he gonna come to New York City, he gonna be a slickster. Okay, so that's why we poke, because he a slickster. Slickster don't get you anywhere. Okay? Slickster don't get you anywhere. But he was smart. And you know, he felt it in his heart. He knew he did some things wrong, but he had 8 kids. He had a wife and 8 kids, and there's 10 people, and you gotta feed them. And so I knew the difference, that those people, my aunts and uncles, were well off, and they had things that we didn't have. And I said, it's because my father didn't further his education. The rest of them did. And so I knew early on that was it, education, education, education. And on top of that, he used to always say, there's no such thing as a dumb Sheares. And that mantra, it just settled in me that I was like, I'm not going to be dumb, and I'm going to further my education, and I'm not going to be poor, and I'm not going to be poor. Those 3 things just resonated in my mind. But more importantly, that there's no such thing as dumb Sheares. So my father, he made sure we got our education. He actually helped us with our homework and asked us questions about it. My mother said, your homework's done? You say, yes. My father said, let me see it. Not only did he say, let me see it, he don't want to just see you finish the homework. He want to see how you wrote it in the book, off the bulletin, off the blackboard. He want to see how you did it. You know, and he used to ask us questions. You know, don't ask him, I'm telling you, don't ask him questions, because then you there all day. I made the miserable mistake one night asking him some multiplication, like you had 2 numbers on the top, 2 numbers on the bottom. By the time I finished, I had 5 numbers on the top and 5 numbers on the bottom. And I was like, no, I'm going to struggle with this thing. Or ask one of my many siblings, because, but education was the key. So what was my plan of action? I'm going to hang out with the smart kids, the real smart kids, not just the smart kids. I'm going to hang out with the real smart kids, okay? So the real smart kids, I'm hanging out with them, but I wasn't that smart. But I tell you one thing, everybody thought I was smart. Everybody thought I was smart. But then you know what else? The second thing is I had to up my game. Now I had to learn something. I just couldn't hang out with the smart people. People thinking I'm smart, because one day they're going to ask me a question. I got to know. So I tell you this, but young people, there's no reason for, and I'm going to just say this like my father, there's no reason for young people, he's deceased, but I know this is something that he would say. There's no reason today for our people, young people, to be dumb. Why is it that we pretend like we're dumb? Or we don't want to be smart? That is the only way out of this system called power. It's the only way out, unless you got an amazing talent like basketball, singing. I don't have any of those things, and neither did any of my brothers and sisters. So we had to hit the books and hit them hard. So I'm just saying to our young people, education is the key, because even if you know how to sing, what happens when your voice goes? If you know how to play basketball, what happens when those knees go? And how about when age leaves, age come? You gotta have something to fall back on. Okay? Okay? Know that this transformation comes and you're going to hear the noise. And so I say, let the noise be heard, because now all the people will know that I'm changing. I am transformed. And all will know that the transition that's in you, that the transition that is for you, that the transition that is by you, that you are making this happen. And God knows we are putting God in it. God is allowing us to do this. I'm not saying we're doing this by ourselves. I started off with what? If it wasn't for the Lord that was on my side. So when I'm saying you and you and you, know that the big picture is the Lord. Okay? That this transition that is by you has happened. And now you have transformed. And I want my young people to listen. Transformed. Totally revised. And nurtured you. Your nurtured self. Totally revised. And nurtured self. Forgetting old. Remembering my empowering decision. That empowering decision was to do what? To transition to transformation. To God be the glory.
Amen. Amen.